Welcome back, this is Stoney, and this is part 2 of my air classifier that uses air pressure as a fluid bed to classify the material that goes in my bucket. I did some modifications, let me show you, and let's get right into the next test. So if you remember, last week was kind of a bust when we did our test. I did some modifications and it's gonna go a lot better today. First things first, with the classifier itself, I went and made a whole bunch more 1/4 inch holes all the way around, about 3.5, 4 inches up, and I put more at the bottom. Remember last time it felt like the material wasn't able to go down into the bottom bucket right here. Now for the bottom bucket, I did some modifications on the outside. I found that having the nozzle out this way, it was kind of awkward, so I put a 90 on it with the same 1/2 inch valve and then the nozzle up here. And I put a strap across here so I could easily open and close this and not worry about putting stress on the bottom fitting. Now on the inside, remember I had a coil before. Now I have this H pattern right here. I think it's an H pattern. And I did the exact same thing. I put a whole bunch more 1/8 inch holes in the bottom of this. So when the air comes out, it percolates and it's gonna make that fluid bed for the classifier that's right here. So remember, recap, shovel the contents inside of here, I turn on the air, it's supposed to make all the heavies drop to the bottom and the light stay in the bucket. Then I can take this top bucket right here and dump it off to the side. And one last thing, I got rid of those bungee straps that went from the top bucket to the bottom bucket because they ended up being more of a pain in the butt and they were kind of hard to get on and off. So this time I'm gonna turn my air pressure on and just put pressure on the top bucket. Because remember, we were having air coming out between where the buckets are right here. So I'm hoping that's gonna prevent a lot of that air from coming out and it's gonna maintain it inside the bucket. I got a spot over there ready to go. Let's see how she works. Now, if you haven't checked out part 1 yet, I go ahead and do that. It's only 20 minutes long, and it's gonna show you kind of the trials and tribulations of what I did on those first few tests. We're gonna do things kind of the same, but a bit different. Let me show you my setup, and we'll get right into it. All right, I got my air compressor right there. It's feeding 165 PSI. Now, last time I kept it at 70. This time I'm gonna go a bit more. I had this sit for about an hour and a half, nothing happened. Remember, the weakest spot of this whole system is the valve rated for 150 PSI. The rest of it's rated for 600. So I got my bucket right here. I got about halfway full of water. You can see the water in there. And then I got my nozzle thingy-majiggy in the bottom. So last time what I did is I dumped in a full bucket worth of material and then ran my air. And a lot of the concentrate stayed gravelly up here and only a very little amount fell at the bottom portion where I want all the heavies to settle right between these two buckets. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna just shovel one good sized shovel in this, turn on the air, let it percolate, and then once that's done, I'm gonna take this bucket of material and put it through an 1/8 inch classifier into another bucket and just work it down and then dump that off to the side. So the whole point of this is to run this first. There should be no gold in this bucket, and then all the concentrates with gold should be sitting here in this bucket. And if this gets filled up, I have another bucket right there. I'll just slap the contents in here in the other bucket, and then we'll work that on our second sluice run. I'm basically trying just to have the gold concentrates in here, and this should all be spoils. So if this works in a true world scenario, all you should be able to do is shovel some stuff in here, run the air, and then dump this off to the side and keep going. You shouldn't have to run this bucket of, we're gonna call this tailings, through a sluice. But we're gonna do that today just to make sure we don't have any gold in this bucket. We verified last week that we had gold in this spot, so I'm thinking we should get probably around 20 to 30 specks when we're all said and done with this test. I only want to do one bucket of each, the tailing and then whatever concentrates are in that bottom bucket. So let's go ahead and get some material, and like I said, we're just going to do enough to put inside that bucket a good shovel's worth. This is some really hard stuff to dig. but I'm pretty confident we got gold in there. The harder the better, right? All right, I'm gonna call that good. Let's put some air on it. All right, here's the fun part. So I'm gonna turn on the air and hold down this bucket. It's gonna be kind of messy, but it's gonna be really cool because you're gonna see it percolating up here. Give it about 10 seconds. It's already working so much better than before. All right, let's cut it off. Now let's take this material out of here. I'm hoping that all that gravel is not in there and it's bigger stuff. It looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna put it in here. Put that back in. Let's go ahead and classify this how we normally would if I didn't have my classifier system like this. It's already working so much better. Okay, let's get one more shovel full. And let's run this. It's like a witch's cauldron. I love it. This is fun. Okay, I think that's good. We'll classify this down again. Now I'm curious to see how much material is actually in here. Okay, I can still feel the pipe. That means I still have about an inch left from the pipe to the bottom of this bucket. So I'm gonna put more material in here. Let's do another shovel. And let's hit it again. It really makes classifying so much easier. I have nice even flow of air coming out of here. Before it was kind of concentrated on one side when I had the coil. So I'm liking how this is distributing the air a lot better. Should be good. Shut her down. See what we got. My gravels are looking pretty clean actually. They're looking more clean than they were before. Before it was just like it wasn't even working. And you can kind of see in the video that most of the gravels are going right through. Now I'm going to feel how much is in here. Okay, it feels like I got one more shovel worth I can do. All right, last one. And I think the longer you run this, the more material is going to go to the bottom bucket, and you should have cleaner material up here. Well, I'm not getting the spitting out of here as much because I'm holding down pressure on the top bucket. All right, that's probably good. Okay, we're good. Isn't that fun seeing it percolate in that bucket? But as you can see, we have a huge improvement from last week, so this is a good thing. So let's run the material I put through the 1/2-inch classifier through a sluice, pan that down, and see if we have any gold. Remember, last time we did have gold in every bucket worth from the tailings when we ran through the sluice. So let's cross our fingers and see if we have no gold in our tailings bucket. Okay, here's our tailings bucket. We only have maybe a 1/4 bucket worth, if that, of material. So that's actually really good. It means most of it is in the other bucket. Now, as you can see, there is some fairly fine gravels in this material. And I kind of expected that, because if the heavy stuff is going to the bottom bucket, all the lighter stuff is building up and eventually going to get into the tailings bucket. But if it works the way it's supposed to, everything in the tailings bucket should be lighter and not heavier stuff, meaning that the gold is going to always be at the bottom bucket. So it can keep filling, keep filling, keep filling, and it's going to always have the gold in it right there. This bucket's virtually empty, so that's awesome. I'm going to pour all this water out slowly. I did very small scoops, and you can already see there's basically nothing in here. So this is a great sign. That means that we are definitely trapping the gravels that are 1/4 inch minus in the bottom bucket. Okay. Empty bucket. Let's let that run for a few seconds. We'll pan it down. All right, I just cleaned out my sluice. There's not much material in there. I'm gonna put this in my gold pan. We are empty. I got my catch pan down here to catch all the material. Let's pan this down. I have a really good feeling about this. This is way better than last time. Okay, go ahead and pan this back. Remember, we want no gold, 0 gold. And I'm pretty sure if there was gold, we're gonna find it because that spot does have some gold in it. Okay, I see one singular speck, actually 2 singular specks, but not bad. Actually 3 little specks. Let me give you a close up. So that's cool. We did find some gold, but we didn't want to find gold in this exact bucket or pan. So now we know we didn't get all the gold out of our tailings bucket. Let's check our actual bucket and see how that runs through our sluice and then pan that down. All right, so I'll pull this bucket up. It's pretty clean, just has some plant debris in there. Set it off to the side. And what I did last time is I just dumped this out. Actually, I'll dump it out into here. Look at all that material in there, okay? You could barely see the nozzle on the inside. So now all I did was I just took my shovel and I just scooped and all of it went down. Gonna put some water in here. Shake it up a little bit. Put it back in here. There we go. Definitely like having the nozzle on the outside pointed up. It's not in the way like a wand. And then what I did too is I put a little air on it to kind of burst. That way, if any material got inside those holes, it pops right back out again. So that's a clean bucket right there. Now let's run this through a sluice, and we're gonna definitely find some gold in this bucket. I know it. Okay, here's our precious materials right here. Definitely a lot more material than the last bucket we had, which is expected. That means we're doing something right. And I'll bring you back when I'm done running the material through the sluice, and I'll see you over at the gold pan. Welcome back. Here's the concentrates from my sluice. This is the good stuff. Bucket's empty, put off to the side. This is the tailings bucket material that I just panned through a little bit ago. Let's try this, and I'm hoping for a lot more gold in this one. Not sure how much more gold, but considering how the material was, there should be probably maybe a good, maybe 10 flake in here, I'm hoping. Could be less, could be more. I have some better spots on the creek, but it's kind of far away from how I can hook up power and get my air hose to it. So I'm kind of limited to this one particular spot right here with how high the water level is currently. This material is at a 1/4 inch, so it is a bit bigger than the 1/8 inch that I ran through the tailings bucket with, the Classifier. Doesn't make a difference though with panning. It's gonna all pan the same. We'll do one more and then we'll do our backwash. Yep, definitely a lot more gold in this pan. I think my average, what I said, was pretty correct. All this black sand out of here, and then we'll pan it up for you. Show you what it looks like. There you have it. I'm counting about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bigger pieces, and then there's probably about 6 or 7 smaller pieces sparkled throughout the black sands. But it worked. It actually worked. Well, there you have it. We actually made a fluid bed, air pressurized, DIY classifier, and it actually worked. Yeah, we did have some gold in the tailings bucket, 3 specks I think it was. So maybe I just could have ran it a bit longer, or maybe just not put as much material in there. But I'm thinking as well, remember, I did 4 consecutive shovelfuls in that bottom bucket. So I feel like if I cleaned it out maybe after 2 or after 3, maybe that gold wouldn't have got maybe pushed back up into that other bucket. Either way, I'm pretty satisfied with the test. This was a 2-week test. I did some modifications, and each time you do a test, you can make things better. Do I have any ideas for maybe a 3rd test? I don't right now. So if you have any ideas to possibly make that better, I'm all ears, because I think it's fun and it kind of changes the way you can prospect. You can use air pressure, which I'm not sure I've ever heard of anyone actually doing what I did, and that's kind of cool. Remember, If you fail, get back on the horse and try it again, because eventually you can make it work and you can change the future of whatever you're doing, right? Is this going to change the future of gold prospecting? Heck no. No one's going to bring this out to the creek. No one has power like that. No one has an air compressor normally, right? But just think outside the box and it can go a long way. Thanks for watching this test. I hope it was good enough for you. I was gonna do some more, but I figured, you know what? I think one bucket for each is good enough, and we'll call it good. Until next time, thanks for watching. I hope you have a pleasant day. Heavy pants and stay safe out there. Stoney's out.